And the theme of our meeting today is spreading positivity. So it's with great joy that I introduce you to the person that I deliberately chose to close the spring series. Justin Hanratty, someone I consider a friend, a terrific young business leader. There are several different ways I want to describe Justin. I wrote about him about 10 days ago. But I got to know Justin because I was on one of his Post-it notes. Justin is famous for earning his way into the top leadership role of his family's business because he started his career in a basement office with no windows, and he wallpapered the room with Post-it notes of people he wanted to get to know. And he spent a lot of time smiling and dialing, trying to get to know those people. And I was one of those people, and he has changed my life as I think I have his. I talked to many of his customers and people that have been with him on his business journey, and I got all sorts of interesting anecdotes. One person told me that Justin's style is so intensely personal that it's almost a little eerie. That he's going to ask you questions and really expect you to answer him, like, how are you doing? Really? I found that to be true. I also found out that his intense style of managing the culture in his business meant that some people had to go. But the profitability and their ability to invest in their employees and back in the community made their brand just absolutely magnetic. They're rising up the list of insurance firms in their space very quickly, and they've been named the best places to work a number of times. All from a man who's very young. I can also tell you that his life is more challenging now because he and his wife, Hani, are raising young kids. They just had recently had a new baby, and that changes life a little, doesn't it, Justin? Yeah. So without further ado, I want to introduce you to someone who I believe, even though I'm literally old enough to be this guy's father, I want to be him when I grow up. Here you go. Please welcome Justin.
Thank you, Paul.
Enjoy yourself.
Thank you. So I'm really excited to be here. But I wouldn't be here if it wasn't for people who helped me and mentored me throughout my life. People who believe in the 7 F's. People like all of you. So I'm totally honored to share my story. Every morning when I wake up, my purpose is to live like my older brother TJ and to give a fresh pair of socks to somebody. I'm going to explain to you how I got to that point. Remember back when you were 27. Imagine being 27. What were you thinking about? Your family? Your love life? Your career? I'm 34, but when I was 27, I will never forget what I was thinking about. You see, after a long day of work, I went home. And while in the bathroom, I have this huge mirror in my bathroom. And I looked in the mirror. And I saw myself, the real self, staring back in the mirror. I'm not proud to admit this, but I didn't like the person I was. I didn't like what I saw looking back. I saw myself in my heart for the first time. I had a decision to make. I could lead a life that was selfish and lead a life that I was on track to lead, or I could change it. And I made the decision right then and there in front of the mirror that I wanted to change it. So I spent months, literally months, examining my heart, examining the past experiences of my life that make me who I am today. And I realized a theme that always kept coming back every time I looked down at what I had written. My hero, the person who is in every story written down, is my older brother, TJ Hanratty. So by a show of hands, does anybody know somebody with Down syndrome? Mm-hmm. It's a lot of people. Mm-hmm. My older brother, my hero, has Down syndrome. And in these stories, I remember in high school watching TJ walk down the halls and hug everybody. It didn't matter what they had, who they were, he hugged everybody. And I remember watching these people, after they hugged him, walk by with such a joyful face. When TJ and I were both seniors the same year. And one of my favorite stories is TJ was the water and stick boy for our varsity hockey team at Armstrong in Plymouth, Minnesota. And as tradition goes, every home game, your last home game, they announce you so you can give a rose to your parents and thank them for all the sacrifices they've done for you. The school, the coaches, decided that TJ, because of how inspiring and how joyful and how much he gave to the team, should be announced as well. So I was announced, gave my rose to my mom and dad, thanked them for what they've done. The crowd's out there, the rink's right here, the boards are here, the opening of the boards is right there. And my brother walks up to the opening of the boards. They announce him, and he springs up with the most joyful wave I have ever seen. And I was a tough hockey player, and I was crying in front of all my friends. But the story that really molds me, shapes me, is a story of TJ. As many of you may know, people with Down syndrome have a lot of surgeries throughout their life, a lot of medical problems. When I was 7 years old, TJ had to have another major operation where they cut him open from the top of his back all the way to the bottom of his back. TJ's spine was deteriorating and they needed to put a rod in his spine to hold it in place. My father grabbed my older brother Troy, my younger brother Matt, and I, and brought us to the hospital. Walking into the hospital, I will never forget the huge gray doors that you have to walk through, the most intimidating doors. I'll never forget opening those doors. And when I walked into the room, beds lined up, doctors and nurses everywhere, and walking up to the fourth bed, seeing my brother, and realizing that he had a halo on and rods coming down. And to hold the halo in place, he actually had to have screws put into the sides of his forehead. TJ looked at me and said, "Justin, help. Help me." And there were no longer any doctors in the room. There were no longer any nurses in the room. My family was no longer in the room. The only person I saw was TJ. My mom noticed that I needed some help. So she walked outside the room with me. And I don't know why I asked this, but I said, "Mom, are you okay?" And my mom got the biggest smile I've ever seen in my life. And I remember thinking, she's lost it. She's totally lost it. And my mom looked down at me and said, "Justin, I've been in the hospital for 7 straight days. I can't leave your brother's side. But do you know that he has the best doctor in the world who did this surgery? And it was a success. And your brother will be able to walk and not be in a wheelchair. And he'll have a better life. But I need to tell you something." And she looked down at me with the biggest smile, tears forming in her eyes. And she said, "I've been here for 7 straight days. And every morning, the doctors and nurses make sure to bring me a fresh pair of socks." Justin, do you know how much that means to me? It hit me. While reflecting, it hit me. If I was going to change from the man in the mirror to the person I'd be proud of and my family would be proud of, I had to do 3 things in my life. The first thing, I need to give a fresh pair of socks to somebody every day and make them feel the way the doctors and nurses made my mom feel. The second thing, is I literally need to care about how people feel, that intensity. And the third thing is I'm going to strive every day to live like my brother TJ would live and is living. Several months after discovering my purpose, my father gave me the greatest gift in the world. He said, I'd like you to start changing the family business and start leading the family business. What a gift. But I was very, very lucky because there was 7 people at our organization who believed in what I believed. I was so grateful for them. And we built our core values, and we decided an insurance brokerage firm that gives socks might be weird to people. So we changed that to touching lives. That's our mission, touching lives. During this whole transformation, we had major turnover of staff. And the reason is a lot of the staff in insurance didn't understand what touching lives had to do with insurance. So they found a different home. But we made the decision, moving forward, we were only going to hire employees, team members, who wanted to touch lives. That was a focus of theirs. Not because of our mission, but because it's who they are. I also had the fun phone call to my father to let him know I'm firing some clients. That call did not go well. You're firing clients. I just gave you this opportunity and you're throwing money away. And I said, Dad, we can't have clients who call in and swear and scream at our people constantly. It's not worth it. We need to fire ourselves. And I'm really grateful to my father that he let me do that. What a gift. I'm proud to say now that 6 of the 7 people who helped build the new Hanratty are now in some sort of leadership role. And it's fantastic. But we made the decision, if you're going to touch lives externally with your clients in the community, you need to touch lives internally with your team members. So we set up things like summer hours from Memorial Day to Labor Day, where our staff at 1 o'clock are free to go out and enjoy the summer with their family and friends. We have Lindsay in the back there, who is a yoga instructor on her free time. And she wanted to teach yoga to our staff. So every Wednesday, 12 to 1, Lindsay transforms from our account manager with our clients to our yoga instructor and teaches us all sorts of things like namaste. And finally, this. For those of you who can't see it in the back, yes, it is a huge bowl with horns on a belt. We have a quarterly award at Hanratty. A person is voted for touching the life of someone above and beyond anything that can be expected. And it's an honor. And they set the bar for that quarter of what we need to do out in the community. With it, they get the best parking spot, the Hanratty Hero parking spot. They get a cash bonus, but they have this honor. I wanted to share one story with you in pertaining to this belt of my friend and coworker, Cassie Nordquist. Cassie was out at a client, and the client nonchalantly let her know that her 4-year-old nephew was driving twice a week to the Mayo Clinic because of some health conditions. Cassie came back to our office and said, I want to do something for this family. And she raised $200 setting up gift cards and sent it to the family to help with the gas to go to the Mayo Clinic and back. And she received a note from that family that said, thank you for bringing us so much joy in such a hard time. It was incredible. But that really, to me, is the focus in my personal job, is to maintain the culture of caring at our organization and to make sure people are happy and we're touching lives internally so we can touch lives externally. So how do you maintain that? How do you maintain your purpose? I don't want to go back to what I felt when I was 27. Every morning when I walk into my office, I have two things I look at. I have a nameplate on my desk that says TJ Hanratty, our CIO, our Chief Inspiration Officer. And I have a pair of socks to remind me that today is the day that I need to make somebody feel the way the doctors and nurses made my mom feel. Actually, I have a pair of socks for all of you. So you're going to receive these hospital socks. And I'll never forget the day I spent $1,300 on socks. So what I'm excited about, why I was excited to share my story, is because I believe in you. Like we're here, we believe in goodness. I believe in you. I'm your biggest fan. And I challenge every single person here to let these socks remind you that if you look back on your past and you reflect on the things that make you you, you have a unique story. Like a fingerprint. You have a unique story that nobody else has. And I encourage you to figure out what that story is and figure it out from here. Because you will give yourself, your family, your business, the greatest gift in the world. And that's your purpose. So thank you.
Great job. Great job. Well, now we have a chance to debrief at our tables. We have a round table discussion, and I think the question that I need to ask you to discuss is absolutely obvious, and that is, who is the TJ Hanratty in your life? Who inspires you to create that caring environment that's going to change people's lives? So we've got about 10 minutes for your roundtable discussion. If you don't know the people at your table, you will. Ready, set, go. I got to tell my table about my 103-year-old grandmother. Yeah, pretty exciting conversation. Well, it's customary for us to do an interview after the fact, and I'm really excited to ask you these questions. The first one is, I've learned a lot from you about the power of goal setting. I mean, I'm a pretty driven guy, and I'm always sort of going where I think I need to go. But you and I had awesome conversations about goal setting. Would you tell us a little bit about how you think about goals, and specifically related to the rhino you have?
Oh, gosh. All right. So when I came to the realization that my life needed to change, what you work for changes. So I bought a Yamaha Rhino side-by-side. It's like a four-wheeler 9 years ago. And when I hit my goals, my personal goals every year, I get an accessory for the Rhino. So this last year, my wife actually purchased the accessory and surprised me, and we got a windshield. So thank you, honey.
And are you on track to add an accessory this year?
Right on track.
Awesome, awesome. What I learned from you about that, my son and I have an 85-foot pine tree in our front yard. This is a tall pine tree. And we've been talking since he was 10 years old, so he's 25 now, that we ought to light that thing like a Christmas tree. And so after having a conversation with Justin, I have a goal for our business. That by the end of this year, if we get there by the end of October, we're going to light it like a Christmas tree. And we're on track. Yeah, so I learned that from you. You're also really, I wonder how you get all these things in. You're very active in peer groups. Matter of fact, there's a bunch of allied executives people here today who are associated with you. You're a part of that group. And YPO and all those other things. What do you find helpful in being a part of those groups?
So I personally learned through experience, and I have a thirst for knowledge that I'll never quench. So it is a blast to be in peer groups and make connections with people and be real with people and just learn from other people's experiences. It's just phenomenal. So I would recommend it to anybody to join Allied or YPO. It's a great experience.
Yeah, good. When I was 35, I started a peer group of my own. We called it our personal accountability group. That's when I met Tim Schmidt, the guy that we wrote the book about the 7Fs with. We were together through all sorts of interesting times, and you and I were talking about this, and you started your own peer group even outside of all of that. Can you tell us a little bit about what that is and why and who's involved?
Yeah, so we have a couple of the members here today. When I went through the transformation, I spent 5 years scouring the cities for individuals between the age of 28 and 37 to just join a monthly peer group with, an accountability group. So Mike Durheim is part of the group, the CEO of the Nerdery. Carson Kipfer is part of the group, the co-founder of Sport Engine. And then Aaron Egger is part of the group, and he's the president of iSpace and MSpace. And then several other members who couldn't make it.
So what do you call it and what do you do?
It's called the Council.
Mm-hmm.
And what we do, would you like to do a general of what we do or what we did last meeting? Because I could get some huge brownie points if we talked about last
You got a
meeting.
few minutes here, pal, so go ahead.
Last meeting specifically, a member had brought up the balance between him working and his wife working, and some tricks he could learn on how to be a more supportive husband. So we talked about that for about 40 minutes and all helped each other through that and how we can be better husbands. So it's not always business.
Excellent. Thank you for sharing that. So that's a good segue to the next question. You and Hani, you had another baby recently, right?
8 weeks ago.
8 weeks ago. She looks awesome, by the way. Yeah. So how has that changed how you are at work?
It hasn't necessarily changed how I am at work because although I have a 2-year-old and an 8-week-old, several of my team members have children. And I believe that all of us have the responsibility at work to lead well and show each other respect and to show that culture of caring. And my hope is for all of our children, for mine and all the team members, that these children, as they're growing up and they come into Hanratty and they experience the environment, I really hope it'll inspire our children to find their purpose and meaning in life and inspire them to do great things. So.
Yeah, excellent. Well, my closing question is a little more personal for you. When I first asked you to speak at the Good Leadership Breakfast, you didn't want to do it. And so I said, what's that all about, pal? Right? And so we talked through it, we went through a process, and you eventually decided to do it. And then we worked together a little bit. So what did you learn about yourself during that journey of saying no originally to actually, finishing by with this interview right here?
Really reflected on if my purpose is to touch lives, if my purpose is to give socks, and I have the opportunity to help somebody, regardless, I need to take that opportunity. I need to try to help somebody because you never know with speeches or with whatever you're going to do. who's out there who was me at 27. So my goal of this speech and why I decided to do it was I hope that out of this someone is helped. And moving forward, any opportunity I have, that's what I'm going to focus on, is I hope somebody is helped.
Outstanding. Thank you. Thank you. As part, well, you know this as part. Yeah. Thank you very much. In honor of your speech, we have $500 here to give. You can give to wherever you wish. Charity of your choice. Can you help us understand where you're going to send that?
Sure. Instead of just saying who I'm going to give this check to, do you mind if I say why?
Yeah, sure.
So Brian Provost is in the crowd. Brian, I'd love for you to stand up.
Wow. Hi, Brian. Thanks for being here. Yeah.
So I was thinking a lot about who to give this check to, and Brian has been mentoring me for 2 years, and he's allowed me the greatest gift in the world, which is his time. Brian holds an organization deep in his heart called the Banyan Community that works in the Phillips neighborhood. And I would like to donate to the Banyan Community in honor of my mentor, Brian Provost. So.
Great. Wonderful. Thank you. Thank you for your time. Yeah.